The only thing is that he has taken it to the which was required and it was due for a long time. Yeah, it's all well begun is half done, as they say. That was our physics law. Physics law. One from Kota. Answer and one of those you from.
क्योंकि आपका वो कनेक्शन बनाना बड़ा अच्छा है, आपका ज्वाइन किया।
Good evening everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you for Thai Leadership Series. I'm Dr. Deepika. I'm here to take you forward to this evening. So, I think all of you are all excited. Since childhood, I think we're all excited when someone tells stories and how we, like, the impact it has on us and all that. So, we often talk about products, market fit, funding and growth hacking. But today we are focusing on a secret weapon of the world's most successful founders. That is the art of storytelling. To guide us through this, we are thrilled to host Ashutosh Mundada, a co-founder of Fixed Health. Over the last 9 years, he has built Fixed Health into a global online physiotherapy powerhouse, delivering over 2 lakh sessions across 31 plus countries, and he's been in the trenches, pitching to investors, building teams, and navigating the highs and lows of the startup world. So Ashutosh, we are very eager to have your, this one on storytelling and to listen to your insights also. So I welcome you once again.
Thank you. Inviting me, special thanks to Funny obviously, and the whole set of people who've come here on a Saturday evening. The idea here is to not make this very theoretical, but very interactive and actionable in a way that because all of you run businesses, right? How can you take this using the power of storytelling to win in business? Okay, that is there. One, if we just remove this. Yes. So let's start. Apt to start a session of storytelling with a story. So I'll start with the story for today. It was 24th of March 2020, 8 p.m. I had just been back from office. It was a long day at work. I was having khichdi for dinner. I honestly did not even like the khichdi much. Suddenly, the Prime Minister of India, PM Modi, came on TV. And he announced a lockdown, right? He announced that COVID-19, deadly virus is spreading, and because of which we have to maintain social distancing. And because of that, all the shops from the midnight of the same day are going to stay closed. Now, because we did not know what this is, how long this is going to be, right? It was obviously state of panic. And more so for me, because I was running 3 physiotherapy clinics at that time. And if people cannot, right, touch, or people cannot get out, then how are people also going to visit clinics? And that got me very puzzled, and I honestly started thinking that how did I land up in this situation where all I had was the last 6 months of savings from parents when I started this venture of running clinics. And then I went back and then I said, hey, I was one of the smartest kids in my school. I ended up going to BITS Pilani again, one renowned college. I even got placed and did not take the placement to pursue entrepreneurship. So theoretically I was supposed to win, but how did I land up in this place where after 4 years of college, it's been more than 48 months since I have drawn any rupee of salary. The clinics have no sight of when they will open, and I feel like a complete failure. With these thoughts, I go to bed, move here and there, unable to sleep. Wake up the next morning. I have barely got any sleep. In fact, I myself just started to get some neck pain. So much for trying to help other people that my own health was starting to take a toll. And in that moment, I thought, maybe I will just quit. Maybe COVID is a sign. This is not working, right? I should go back and choose the safer path. Maybe I am not built out to be an entrepreneur. And with that, I just took out my phone and I texted my co-founder that I want to talk. And then the thoughts came that what if she thinks I am a quitter? Why am I giving up at this point of time? But then I convinced myself, no, I have given enough. For the last 4 years when my friends were going on vacations, I was trying to get that one issue repaired in clinic, that one website feature fixed. And I sacrificed enough, so maybe no more. And with that restlessness, I quickly got ready, got down on the below floor, basically rang the bell. She opened the gate, and before I could say something, she said, okay, let me get you a glass of water. I just came in, and while she gave me that glass, her phone rang. Now I was at this point very anxious, almost about to burst, when she said, please give me a minute. Now let me give you the context. My co-founder was no ordinary person. She was Dr. Sheetal, who is a physiotherapist with 35 years experience, has treated more than 30,000 patients, right? So while people could not come to clinic because of COVID, the pain did not go away. That meant that now she was getting calls of patients, and this was one such call, of Geeta. Geeta was a 40-year-old who, because of lockdown, had to do both the office work online at home as well as the household chores. And because of that, her back pain and neck pain had severely aggravated. So as Dr. Sheetal picked up the phone, I could see the facial expressions, the pain on the face of Geeta, and she literally pleaded Dr. Sheetal, ma'am, please do something, but please help me get rid of this pain. And then Dr. Sheetal said, okay, calm down, keep your phone and follow me. So immediately, she started doing some exercises and asking Geeta to follow her. As Geeta started doing one rep after another, I could see slowly her facial expression changing, her pain reducing. And I thought, oh, this is so interesting. Could physiotherapy be done online? Can people exercise online? At that moment, Dr. Sheetal switched to the next exercise. Now this one required dumbbells. So my thought came again, oh, so this can't be done online. But at the very moment, Dr. Sheetal said, wait, can you quickly go to the fridge, grab 2 water bottles and come back and we'll do the exercise. So now interestingly, things that are available in the home could be used as equipments to do exercises. And after the second exercise, Geeta, who was initially very stressed, in pain, was actually smiling and able to bend her back well. And I saw this, Geeta kept the phone and Dr. Sheetal turned to me and I froze. What felt like a failure of the last 4 years, the effort, the clinical team building, the clinic running, now suddenly started feeling like a foundation words for what was next. All this chaos and problems suddenly felt like an opportunity that what if it's okay patients cannot come to us, but can we go to their houses in a virtual way, not being restricted by boundaries? While all of these thoughts were going in my mind, Dr. Sheetal again, moved me and said, hey, you were saying something. And I turned to her very quietly. All that anxiety or the stress actually gone away from my face, turned into excitement. And all I said to her was, I have an idea. Okay, so this is the story of how Fix Health today, today's version was born. Fix Health, which is an online physiotherapy platform, Now, why tell you this story? Because I could have told you this, or I could have simply said that hey, I run Fix Health, we do 2 lakh sessions, we have treated patients in 30 countries. But mostly by dinner, you would have forgotten what did I say, right? So the idea is the same idea. If I communicate as a story, I am sure you have a much stronger recall. And end of the day, as all of you here as entrepreneurs, your purpose also is to spread your idea more further and farther in also a way that people remember it, right? So story is one such medium that you can use to help succeed in business. So let's go to, I have to put it here, fine. So I told you a story instead. That's what tonight is about. Tonight is about 4 things. First, understanding why storytelling matters, right? If the story itself still hasn't convinced you, we'll talk about why this matters for you. Not for anyone else, but for you in your business, why does this matter? Second, what are the 4 stages that every customer goes through while making a purchase decision? You might be selling to a business, you might be selling to the government, you might be selling to a corporate, you might be selling to an end retailer or a customer or a patient or a client. Does not matter. All of them go through these 4 stages before they make a purchase. And understanding this is very key. Third is how do you find great stories and how do you write great stories. And the fourth is using that story to actually grow your business. How do we merge everything that we've learned, right, to do it? And hence, the idea is I've obviously gotten some examples, but I also want this to be hence more interactive where, because you know your businesses well, we will also try to do some more activity based things. So you don't go back with some random theoretical concept that another person came and told, but something that you can maybe go and apply back to your businesses, right? So first one, why storytelling matters? Because your business sounds exactly like your competitor. Everybody says we have great quality, experienced team, affordable rates. You are saying this, your competitor is saying this, the 6th person offering your service or product is also saying this, right? Right? So 5 questions that 5 people basically ask one simple question. Why should we trust you? It can be your customer, it can be your own children, it can be your investors. Everybody is asking you this question that ultimately why should we trust you? And the answer for that is what you can get with storytelling. Because why you, a premium brand and an ordinary brand, a lot of times sell the same product, right? How many times you have heard कि यार उसका तो product भी हमारे से कम ही है पर पता नहीं वो ज़्यादा बिक जाता है, वो क्यों ज़्यादा price पे बेच पा रहा है, correct? So a lot of times the same chocolate you will get at a 10 rupee and it is available at a 100 rupee. The difference is story more often than you will anticipate, right? You always believe just the best product wins, but it is the best product that also carries the farthest is what is going to basically win. So having a story makes a whole lot of difference. Yes. So second is owning your word of mouth, right? A lot of businesses, specifically if you are running a SME, a big customer acquisition marketing channel for you is word of mouth. We don't have the budgets of multinationals, right? Big large brands to market things. So, but word of mouth, if you have not crafted that story well, what will happen? People will tell other people that हाँ अच्छा है, right? अच्छा है is a very vague word of mouth. But if, right, you see word of mouth as marketing done by your customers about you, and if you give them a really good story to tell, which they can retell, correct? So if today somebody is really liking your product and if they don't tell it to others, what do they have to tell? People will not spend a lot of time in thinking and articulating that. उनको जो दिमाग में आएगा, they will speak that. So how do you feed the right things in their mind that you want to travel? That is the next thing. And 3 more places where this really helps. First, team, right? I am sure again one problem you will face is people don't want to stay back in Nizamabad want to go to bigger cities to work, right? The talent, the problem everyone running a business in a tier 2 city faces. So a lot of times story helps you also retain talent. If you can't match sometimes, let's say on the salary number, on some other lucrative perks, but a vision, right, a story helping someone see a future that you are able to see, that helps. Even children, a lot of people are very experienced, and I'm sure one question is, will the children join, will they take it ahead or will they not? A lot of times they don't want to do it. But you think this, right? A lot of times same children are very happy, excited to go back work in a food delivery startup, camp startup in a Bangalore. Why? Because again, the story aspect is a very key aspect of it. And third is again obviously the very obvious one, the investor. There again, I see, right, people commenting, why did they invest in that? It obvious hai, it should not have been given money. There are much more stronger businesses, they don't get capital. Why did they get capital? Specifically, a lot more in the early stages, right? It is if you can make the investors see the future the same way you see the future. That is a major part there. In the early stages, that makes a lot of difference. So hence, other than your marketing, right, which is how our customers perceive your referral happens, there are these 3 different places also where your story will really help. So right now, your best story is locked inside your head. That is the problem, right? One, either you are running a business where you are the whole and soul. That's also a problem because if you don't have it well articulated, it may not come out well. And second, in fact, if you have a business where you have multiple people, let's say you have your staff, team, reception, somebody who picks up the phone, right? Somebody who is responding to your Google reviews. Now, if they all don't know this, they will write what they feel is best. And that inconsistency will a lot of times also cause you, right, a lot of loss. Like you might have put in the best holding and somebody sees that and calls up at your hospital, right, or for your business. And the person picking up the phone but is like, is not able to answer the questions correctly. Gone. All that effort, 1,000 rupees spent on that holding is waste. So, right, getting first is to get the story out, and then secondly, obviously, we'll see how can we use that well. So again, this is the first quick section. Still, if anyone has any question on, okay, does storytelling really matter? कि या मेरे business में उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता? Again, happy to interact. Or anyone has questions that okay, how will I use given my business case? Anyone wants to share anything? But what do they do? And if there are questions on how storytelling will be useful, because I want, before we go into actually the craft part, we should be convinced that this makes sense. Otherwise, there's no point in spending the next hour on this. Anyone, anything? Everyone seems, yeah, please.
So, this is our family business. So, we have been here for past 43 years. So, for somebody like us who are now serve generations of guests, and now we are trying to serve the newer generation as well. So, how do I tell my story?
I am hoping that by the personal storytelling. So that's also a very interesting space to be, very honestly. Now, given we are all in the fight for attention, what I am covering today, though, is not as much about personal storytelling. Because I am sure a lot of people will be like, yeah, I have now studied this much, worked this much, and now I should make reels also. So you need not do that. That is not the only way. That is one way. That's a great way. If you can directly speak, right, to your prospective customers, teammates, whatever, that works well. But there is another way also where you can do business level storytelling, not your just individual storytelling, individual content creation, because that is what everybody is getting, that I can do, how do I do my individual content creation. But as a business also, how do you craft your business story? That is what we cover here. Great. Thanks. Cool. Anyone, anything else? Okay, so let's go. Now I think before we go to this section, right, again couple of quick questions on what do you think makes a customer, prospective customer, buy your product or service. By customer, it can be a company, government, agency, anything. I am not saying an individual human. But what do you feel makes a customer buy whatever you are selling? Anyone, any answers? Please.
You create a need for the product or you
The value you create for the customer.
The value you create. Correct. Again, but there is a context to this, right? What does it mean?
In the service industry, mostly whatever feedback that your existing customer gives, your client gives to the new one, that matters more than anything, I guess.
Correct. So again, now let's take one example of everything that today. Let's say you expertise in GST returns and all of that. Correct. Now today, if I am a college student and everyone in the room is telling me you are the best CA in Nizamabad, right? Will I still buy your service? No. Correct. Ma'am, what is the product or service that you are dealing with?
healthcare, so hospital.
Hospitals, right? So again, which specialties? Any?
I'm into administration.
Administration. So let's say again, very simple space you take of orthopedic hospital, right? Now if I am someone who is fully fit, running a marathon, triathlon, Ironman, no injury, they may have the best reputation. I will never go to that place. Correct? So again, what did you say? Your answer was?
Create a need.
Create a need, right? So again, if I don't have anything, and how do you create a need for me? Okay, you are doing any business? No. Okay, anyone closer to you doing anything? Okay, I'll come to you. What is the? No, he was.
I'm into spices and dry fruits.
Spice and dry fruits. What was your answer?
Aware.
Aware. Right, great. Now if today again, I will say if I am a hostel student, जो डब्बा खाता है, right? तो आपके बारे में पता भी है कि if you are the best brand, I am not going to purchase. Correct? मैंने आपके सब होल्डिंग भी देख ली, आपको WhatsApp आ गया, everything. Yeah, I know you are the best, but you will not be able to sell to me. Now why I am answering is कि all your answers are not wrong, but one very interesting learning, and this took me also a lot of years, so I just want to share this with all of you is the hard reality is we cannot sell to someone till the point they do not have a struggling moment. So there is this term, what is a struggling moment? So if I have a problem for which your solution could be solving, then all of you said makes sense, right? If I got an injury playing a sport and then knowing that they have a great hospital, makes sense, right? If I have a company and I am having my CA is left and I am looking to find a new one to file return, then it makes sense, correct? If I am opening a cloud kitchen and I see you are creating awareness, and I am like, oh yes, I need to buy in bulk, I'll get good quality cheap here, then it makes sense. So the starting point, surprisingly, and because everyone tells us this, right? You do great marketing, everything, and आप सबको बेच दोगे. The hard reality is you can't, because you can't till there is a struggling moment. जिसके लाइफ में सब बढ़िया चल रहा है. मैं उसका बहुत simple example देता हूँ. ठीक है? Recently, if let's say you want to buy a car, suddenly you start seeing car की holdings and ads. पर जब नहीं लेना था तब तो नहीं दिख रहे थे. तो ऐसा नहीं है होल्डिंग्स और एड्स नहीं थे, आपको दिखने नहीं होगा, आपको नीड ही नहीं है. The moment you are buying a watch or a shoe, you are able to notice everybody is watching shoe. Correct? So that struggling moment and the reality that we have to understand as business owners is it is very difficult to create a struggling moment. Or let me put it that way, there are easier ways to address people who have a struggling moment than to create struggling moment for someone. Correct? So there could be ways where you can, they have a moment but they don't realize it. वो एक अलग है, but अगर truly अगर है नहीं तो create करना is difficult, and sometimes maybe you don't even want to do it, very honestly. So first identifying that there has to be a struggling moment for your user, and once they have a struggling moment, they go through 4 stages. Okay? So struggling moment is like the beginning point of any potential purchase. So first is your customer, hence is not one person, right? He is 4 different people. How? The first stage is what is called as the first thought. Okay? And maybe let us take example of, because we are going to do a, let's take an example here, where the first stage person is thinking, is this even a problem? right? So again, if you take the seeing a case, so again same है कि if I have just started a company, I am like, do I even need to care about return करना भी है क्या? अभी तो छोटी कंपनी, अभी तो start ही कर रहे हैं, अभी तो proprietorship है, maybe I don't care. So this is the first stage where I am not even aware that this is a problem for me. The person says, oh, अरे ये तो I woke up with this, ये चला जाता है. So this is the first stage. The second stage is passive looking. This is where the hoarding start being visible, right? This पहले किससे कार लेनी है बस एक बार ऐसे casually, फिर hoarding दिखने लग गए. You have not gone to a showroom, tested anything, right? But you are starting to see. Similarly, you are maybe starting to see. Oh, okay, in my network this person is a CA. Okay, I went to a function, that uncle was a CA. You start observing things without active effort, passively. Whatever is already present in the surrounding, it becomes visible. There is no commitment still. There is no effort still, right? But things at least are visible. Third stage is actively looking. This is when I see, okay, now I have this problem, correct? Who is the best CA for it? I want to buy spices. Who is the best person providing it? I have this pain. Which is the best hospital or doctor for it? So this is the third stage where people are actively looking. A lot of us feel that everybody is in this stage. Not everybody is in this stage, right? Because we are a business owner, you are thinking about that day in and day out. But the problem is a very small part of a big life of the customer. They are engrossed in their own life, their own challenges in their lives. And the fourth is deciding. Can I trust them, these guys with this? Now I have seen multiple options, right? I have seen 4 hospitals, 5 CAs, 3 spices vendors. But specifically what I want, can these guys be trusted? Correct? Somebody might say, you know, I want, this is a classic case, people will say price. But price which always one very basic. Somebody might say, no, for me the color of the spice really matters because of whatever category I am in, right? It adds to the look of the food. So I am okay if it's a little pricey, but color is very important. So what kind of spice you get, if that solves for that, then it will matter. Versus you might give a lower price, better price, they will not buy because that is not mattering to them. So identifying honestly what are the trade-offs for the customer. And that is why it's very important. Every customer goes through these 4 stages. There is no escape, there is no jump. They can go fast, right? Let's say somebody has an accident. Now, they are not going to go through all of this. Here, let me first think, is this even a problem? No, right? They are immediately put into an ambulance and to hospital. So they are going through all of this very fast. Sometimes somebody else might be making the decision for them also. But there is no skipping. So first, if you understand this, okay, that every customer will first have a struggling moment. Without struggling moment, there is no thing to be sold. कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, कितना भी कर लो, how much lakhs of rupees you spend, it's almost impossible. But then, even after the struggling moment, they will first be in the first thought phase, then passive looking, active looking, and then deciding. After the decisions phase is when the purchase comes. Whether it's a service, product, it's a government, agency, corporate, everyone will purchase only after this. Okay? And hence, now then what do we do? ये तो हमारे हाथ में है नहीं. User तो इसमें से जाएगा, every user will go through this. What should we do as businesses? Our aim is to communicate at each step to help them move further. Okay, you can only help them move from point A to B, B to C, C to D. And that is what your work is. Ultimately, only when they go to the end, but you think of yourself as though if somebody is sitting on a chair and you are basically helping them move. They will move on their own. A lot of times you don't do anything and still, right? Some doctors will say कि कुछ भी नहीं कर रहे but patients are coming because patients are going through the journey themselves. But as business owners who consciously want to grow, there you can actually help the customer at each stage with the right way. And that is the idea with this workshop also. That once you understand, okay, and then you do. So let's take a case, actual case I got for people to understand, right? Naveen. Naveen is a 35-year-old desk job person. He does yoga regularly. Consider himself fit. 2 months ago, he had some mild neck pain. He dismissed it saying कि हो जाएगा ठीक, I am fit, it will pass. Correct? Classic first thought stage. Then the pain persists. He is busy with office work and he has sister's wedding, और काम आ गया तो बिल्कुल neglected, and doesn't want to commit to any clinic visits. But then he turns to YouTube. So he's like, I want to solve, but I will solve on my own, right? So does like exercises several times a day, believe more effort will fix it. It doesn't work. The pain actually gradually worsens. Once wedding ends, right, life settled down, and then he finally accepts that it is not going to go away on its own, and then he starts looking seriously for help that will fit his schedule. Okay? I can honestly do a 2-hour session just to really understand this in detail, right? Or the user purchase journey. That's a second topic in itself, because that's not the primary aim for today. We will keep this a little short, right? But again, we discuss how we can learn this and do this better. So, here and recovered. This is another person with similar concerns actually got through this. That gives that confidence. So, if you again see different things at different stages. Really, I think quality is not that great, but I just call out hacks for people, right? That in the first thought, what moved? Trigger to move was that pain was not going. Very different trigger that moved him to first thought to passive looking. Right? And from passive looking, the push, the next stage was that self-exercise also not working. From self-exercise, the next push was home remedies have clearly now failed. Correct? So I need also to do something. And in deciding phase, it was that the time is freed up plus a trusted option. Now you see this interesting thing also here, right? So this person came to all of this. One very interesting thing to look here is he also came after his sister's wedding got over. So sometimes whatever you would have done may not have worked because that struggling moment for that 2 months was not that high for the user. Because for that 2 months what matters was when shadi and preparing for it. So he said, my pain can wait. I will maybe put it at the back burner. Once the wedding is done, now he is back to normal, then he is like, oh. And it happens with all of us, right? Some things which are important but not urgent take a back seat because something else which is more important comes up. Similarly is for our users. They will only, right, so this to understand, again, neither me nor you can do anything about your sister's wedding, right? Wo jab hogi tab hogi. But if you don't understand, you might spend unnecessary money or unnecessary follow-ups, right? Whatever, cost, manpower, on things that will lead you to zero results, plus in fact might irritate your customer further. And you might say, block karo yaar inko, please, they are spamming a lot, they are, right? And you all get these bank calls, credit card calls that none of us want. Because there is no struggling moment, right? If you really need a credit card and somebody calls up, you will say, yeah, take it, tell me. But you don't want, and then somebody is just force pushing you. So it does not work. Similarly. So that is why understanding this whole journey is very important. I think the idea we have a whiteboard here is also, and I think you just check it on time. What's the time? 7:50, right? Okay, so we have because end of around second section. We have 4 sections, I said. So my idea was also that, okay, this seems very, okay, you have prepared this, right? Can we do this live for a customer to understand, for other people also, that what is moving and what is happening? So the idea was that if we have some business and service whose customer is also here, because see this customer journey, honestly, how this comes across, as a businessman you shouldn't write this. This should come from your conversation with the customer. And then once you extract the conversation, then you analyze this in a certain way and break this into stages. That is very important. Okay, so hence if there is any, so we have like a few businesses that we already know, CA, doctor, right, spy business. Any customers of these businesses here? Yes, please. Spices, you are the customer. Perfect. Right. Would you want to volunteer? Yeah, please come. Please come. We'll try to understand, right, from him. Again, I don't know anything about spices business, so new for me, doing for the first time. Okay? Let's see how this works. There, so everyone can listen. Right? We'll try to keep this a little more in the center. So, Vikas, what did you purchase?
Dry fruits.
Dry fruits. Again, part of spice business?
Yes.
You are saying, okay.
Spices and dry fruits.
Spice and dry fruits. Okay, dry fruits purchase is what we are looking at. Okay? Okay? So you purchase dry fruits. So this is your final purchase. What did you purchase?
badam, kismis,
right? You purchase kaju, badam,
strawberry, dried.
kismis, anjeer. So let's do 5 only.
Yeah.
Because it's not about what you bought, but more about why you bought. Okay? So first tell us, when is the first time you thought about purchasing this? And when did you buy? So let's also do a timeline. ये कब खरीदा date? If you can put a date to it. Month, if you remember. 4 months back.
January.
Jan, great. So you remember. So you made the purchase in Jan 26. Correct? Perfect. So when did you think the first time to buy this?
After birth of my first baby, I was sitting there.
You are sorry?
After birth of my first baby.
Okay.
She was at 1 year old. She was 1 year old.
Okay.
Then I thought of giving her dry fruits in the powder.
Perfect. So when is the birthday?
31st March.
31st March. Okay. 31st March.
2022.
2022. Okay.
4 years old.
Okay. 31 March 22. So you wanted to give on her birthday,
Yeah.
which is
So
on.
not on birthday. After 1 year of age,
Ah.
I thought of giving her dry fruits daily in the powder.
Okay, to her daily.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Okay. So then this will come in repeat purchase. Is there any first purchase? I want to give that example because repeat purchase will have a lot of context. So okay, can you go back to not this purchase? Let us cut this right now. The first time you bought dry fruits. Okay. So your first trigger was after your daughter's 1 year, you wanted to give her dry fruits, right? So you have to understand this. And why did you want to give her dry fruits?
Because those are nutritious.
Nutritious, right? And what is the other benefit that you see? Right? Okay. So what he is trying to solve is nutrition and energy.
And also add the taste to the routine food.
Taste to food. Okay? So you have to understand this. And you said after her first birthday you started eating. What happened, sir? Why after first birthday? What changed?
Before that, they should not have that dry fruits.
Okay.
Doctor suggested.
Did doctor suggested?
Yeah.
So did you go to the doctor?
Yeah.
And you asked the
It
doctor?
will be difficult for them to digest.
Okay.
So better wait till 1 year.
Interesting. So you asked this tentatively. I know you do not remember the month, but how old was she when you asked this to the doctor?
9 months.
9 months, right?
Because she was having solid food, semi-solid food.
Correct. So now you have to understand this. At the child's 9 month, this problem has already popped up. So the potential purchase has begun at the baby's 9 month mark when there is a pediatrician visit. And why did even this thought come to you about asking about the dry fruits?
Because my parents used to give me dry fruits daily.
Correct.
So I used to enjoy them.
So and are you still eating when you are?
Yeah, I'm still eating.
You're still eating, okay? So that is even further seeding of that. But let's take the specific instance. So the first, when he went into that zone, now you see this zone is where he is not even thinking about what dry fruit to buy. The need, that should I even give dry fruit or not? That seed is given here, and here the doctor tells that you have to do it after 12 months. Correct? So 31st March 22, 31st March 23, and most likely this is a Jan 23 consult. So you have to understand, whoever the sale was done, that kind of destiny was written in Jan itself, that by March the dry fruits are going to be sold. The person might have thought, I have done marketing, I have done something, I have given him discount, hence he purchased. I am not saying it's wrong, but it's only a part. The seed of that was sown in Jan with this visit. Okay, so now what happened? Once you came back from the visit, he said 12 months. Then
So I waited for 3 months.
you waited for 3 months.
Then my first birthday completed.
First birthday completed, right? 31 March 23. Then what happened?
Then I went to the shop from which I used to purchase since my childhood. My mom used to take me there.
So again, let's come one step back. You went to the shop to buy dry fruits. You knew this already.
Yes.
You had, because you had bought
Yes.
previously.
Since my childhood, I used to go to that shop.
Correct. So now you see in this case, interestingly from a struggling moment, there was no active looking stage. He just switched, passed through it. Right? Did you even consider Googling, reviewing reviews, anything about dry fruit, other options?
I felt that my mom used to verify several times before taking any decision.
Perfect.
So I used to delay.
And which dry fruits to give? How did you come to that? Which dry fruits to give her?
Same.
No, but how did you come up with these options? Why these and why not other dry fruits? Like there are so many dry fruits.
Actually, I used to have all the dry
Okay,
fruits.
so again there was nothing specific here, right? So then he had this moment in Jan. Then the moment 31st March came, he went from a first thought stage to quickly he skipped passive. He went to active, like he passed through that so quick. Now sometimes if you go further in detail and do a 1 hour conversation, you will further understand that there might have been something where there was a conversation, let's say at home between members, right? Was there any discussion around
Yeah, I
what?
had discussion with my wife.
Right.
My wife said that we used to get dry fruits from some other shop.
Okay.
She was a child.
Right. So then why did you not buy from that?
So I sent my staff to that shop.
Correct. So then he was right. So he did not pass that stage. He was in the deciding stage. So this is where when you also get into conversation, you realize that there was an active and deciding stage where in deciding he has sent his office boy or employee to shop 2. Correct? Now but why did you not buy from this?
Verify the quality and price.
So what did you come to know?
My wife accepted that the shop which you are purchasing is far better than the shop which I am purchasing since my childhood.
Interesting. So then this lost on quality, correct?
Price.
And price. And
So also
price is very easy to measure. Quality, how were you able to measure?
she had taken tasted.
Tasted.
And
Right.
also availability also because in that shop most of the dry fruits were not available.
Interesting. So availability. Perfect. Right? So again I can go further 30 minutes deep just in quality also. That how did they evaluate quality? Was it the texture? Was it the color? Was it the smell? Right? What is the packing? So we are skipping some of those things, right? Because you have a lot of things to cover. But you get the point. So, but again, how did you come to this place? When was the first discussion with your wife around where to buy it from?
On the same day when I consulted pediatrician,
Correct.
I had a discussion with my wife.
Perfect, right?
So she expressed that this is the shop which
Great. So he did go to active looking also. Just his active looking was not Google searching. His active looking was talking to wife, talking to mother about it. So he did the discussion with mother, with wife. Correct? And then actually from active to deciding, what pushed him was this. That office boy actually going and comparing and whatever bringing stuff and him then comparing the price and quality of those things and the availability. And then somewhere wife saying that okay, now the shop that you are getting this from is better. Correct? And then you went to that shop. Or then how is the purchase, our exact purchase transaction? Or same
I
day?
sent my staff.
You sent your staff?
Yeah.
He bought it?
Yes.
Okay, was there any discount related discussion? Did you know the owner?
No, I don't know the owner directly, but like discounted price will be only there. Wholesale shop.
Correct.
It is a wholesale shop. So discount price will be there.
Correct. Now see this very interesting
And
thing.
there won't be any chance to ask discount also. Shop will be
Great.
very busy.
Now imagine this. Exactly.
He's not going to do this.
I am saying now if you are owner of this dry fruit shop and if somebody comes and asks you, okay, who is your customer? That person will tell my customer is that office boy who bought, because that is what they are seeing, right? That this office boy is coming, he is purchasing. They will feel that is the customer. But now we know that behind a simple purchase like a dry fruit, the people involved were his wife, mother, him and the pediatrician. If the pediatrician would have said 3 years तक नहीं देना तो सेल नहीं हो रहा था, आप कुछ भी कर लो. Any discount you give, any packaging you do, anything, right? So maybe the real roadblock in this whole is pediatrician and you are trying to give discount to that office boy who is coming to buy your product. Unless you understand the journey that your user is going through, right? You will not be able to solve for it only. And because if you don't understand, what is the simple thing? Give discount, give buy plus buy one get one, right? Do all of that stuff. I'm not saying that is not working, but you have to understand, right? Would he have bought, and he never in this thing, what did he say? There is no scope of discount, right? It is a already wholesale shop. Obviously, price was a factor. It was not the factor, right? He said availability, price, quality, right? And what he may not also consciously say, but now that we have mapped it journey, we know that the pediatrician's approval was maybe the biggest factor in the purchase of that. Maybe not of that shop, but in the purchase itself. Otherwise, that purchase would have never happened, and that's why the purchase got delayed by 3 months. If pediatrician would have said Jan, we can give, he would have got in Jan, right? He was so excited about it. So this is what I mean. Thank you so much. Sir, your name? Okay. Vikas. Thank you, Dr. Vikas. Right? He did not even, but behind that, so much of thought and so much of factors have gone into that one small purchase. Imagine you do this activity with 10-20 of your users. All you need, right, is you have to make a user comfortable enough for them to share honestly. And you will be surprised, right? And I have done this with our users also. People are happy to talk so much in detail, 1 hour, 2 hours about the thing. You have to say, okay, I have gotten everything I wanted, thank you so much. Right? We all feel people will not share. But like you saw, he shared in front of such a large group also. Right? Things which are, somebody would say, fairly inside. So today I am running this shop, right? Maybe our idea immediately is, can I go and directly partner with pediatricians? Can I just tell pediatricians that, hey, if this is really good, I will give you samples. You try these samples. And if you tell you can give some samples to your people also. Right? Very unconventional. Only pharma company is going to the doctor and selling medicine. Why can't a dry fruit shop person go? Right? There is no harm. But if you find out that there is enough use case for this, correct? So that is the idea. That is what I am saying in the first part. Till you don't understand the user, we can make all the best stories in the world, but they will not matter. Correct? They are not going to matter at all. Because, well, further, right, I said there is so much just in such a small case can be done, because you said like quality. Because in children, people are very concerned about quality. But people also don't know exactly how do you measure quality. Price is easy to measure, availability is easy to measure, quality is difficult. Can you actually get someone whom they trust? And in this case, we realized for children, pediatrician is what they trust, right? Can your pediatrician of the city you trust actually endorse your shop, your brand? That this is child safe. Maybe the same kaju, but you do a child safe packaging. Let's say you select specific size of kaju, jisse choke nahi hoga, whatever. I don't know, I'm just telling all this hypothetically. I've never dealt in this business, I have zero idea about it. Right? But now that we have insight from the user, not from what you or I think. Right? If 30 minutes back, we would have all tried to guess. Why would he purchase? I am sure nobody would have said that pediatrician was ultimately. Right? None of us think it that way. But that is what I am coming to. Right? It is very important to go and talk to your user, and talk not in a way where you are asking questions, where you confirm your biases. You believe something, you try to validate. Haan, aise sochte ho na, that will not help. You are like, without your any question, you are like, just tell me the, like we did, right? That's why I'll do it live. I don't know how it will go good or bad. Luckily it went good. You all got very good insights if you are running this business. So that is the approach. If you can do this again and again and again, there is a point you will start to get patterns. Right? One of my mentors introduced me to this, and this just flipped my perspective on how I look at my users. Because honestly, in our culture and generally also I see sales is seen as a bad thing for a very simple reason. Sales is seen as you have a product or service, you push it down the user's throat. Low, kharido. Every inquiry that has come has to be converted. But that is not the idea. If you just flip your narrative to say, okay, what I have to sell, but इसमें वो बहुत बात है. In fact, इसमें हमने ये बात भी देखी कि what did the seller have to sell? Nothing here was about what the seller had to sell. Everything here was about what the user wanted to buy. So if you try to understand what users want to buy and talk to enough users to find a pattern that this is what people want to buy, and then maybe tweak your product, service, messaging accordingly. And that is where the next part is going to be, that now that we know that this is, if you do this exercise and you know that okay, this is what is the obstruction at each stage, right? Now imagine this, right? While you talk about pediatrician, just a pediatrician approval may not have helped if the availability was not there. So at this stage, the first third stage, the pediatrician approval mattered. But while in the deciding phase, the qualitative price and availability also mattered. Correct? So you might have the best top 20 pediatricians of Nizamabad approving your product, but when the customer, the office boy is coming, there is no availability, the purchase is not going to happen. So if you want to take it to them, you have to handle it, it's not a push hands, and they also want to go, you have to think of it that way, you have removed the thorns from the road. They themselves want to go. If they have a struggling moment, that means they have a problem they want to solve. And most likely the belief is the solution happens at the end point. Your aim is that there can be 100 paths to that end point. Right? How do you remove the obstacles in your path that leads to your product or goes through your right, when the end point is your product or service. That is the whole idea. And now the understanding is how are we going to use storytelling, so that once after we understand our user, how are we going to use storytelling to do that? That is where we go. Again, I think any questions, anything, any pointer before you go to the next part? Cool, I think people got the context. Perfect. So I just kept if anyone wants, right? Couple of minutes break. It does not matter whether you do for your own business. The more you do this as an exercise, the sharper your ability to find that insight will become. Right? So when I do this also, I also realize, oh interesting, this is such a fascinating thing that, right, the pediatrician could significantly influence or these kind of things could do. So we can do those things maybe, right? Let's go to the next part then. The third part, which is how do you find and write a great story? How many of you believe you have great stories to tell about your business? कि बहुत अच्छी कहानियां बताने के लिए 1, 2, 3, 3, right? 4, correct? The thing is, I tell you, each and every one of you do have, you just don't know it yet. It is like, classic example we have, Hanuman had the capability to cross the sea, but he forgot, so somebody had to remind that he can fly. It is the same. It's not you don't have story, you are just not knowing how do you discover story. So one of the very interesting quote by this Nobel laureate that no one ever decided because of a number. Right? There is very interesting book called The Psychology of Money also, where he says that you might make your best financial plans, personal saving, all of that on an Excel sheet. But the decision about that personal finance is made on a dining table, right? When there is your partner, family member, and you are taking a call on how it makes them feel, how it makes you feel in front of them. So that Excel will go away. And I think similar is for a consumer. And in today's world where anyway Instagram and YouTube is taking up so much of attention, there is so little attention left to make decisions. Our one role as business owners is also how can we make it easy, and honestly number is not. So if you are thinking pricey ho jayega, price is maybe a factor, it cannot be the factor. That is very important to understand and realize. So first is that how do you find stories, right? If only 4 of us feel here that we have great stories, how can the rest find stories? So again, this is from a business standpoint, right? Again, as I said, personally, there are again some practices we can discuss in the end. From children's standpoint, if there are things you want to do to actually create a treasure of stories to tell, that's separate. But from business standpoint, first is you don't have to invent stories. You have to just notice them. Stories are happening with you all the time. The problem is you are not taking time to pause and document and note them. Their point is making a story is the second thing. First, if you can just write instances that have potential to be great stories, you will be surprised at how many you have. And hence, one activity I would recommend, right, is with this your team. So first is what are 3 very simple cases where great stories live. First is a customer who came back after trying something else. He went, he tried whatever did not work, came. And I am sure all of you have had these customers. If you just wait and hear their journey, that can make for a great story. Second, the complaint you turned around, I am sure no business such that everything is fine, every product service, right? As much as your intention is, there are people who are going to be unhappy, right? So then, but if you want to turn it around, unhappy, angry customer who said, "मैं 1 star review दे दूँगा," right? I'll write on the social media, I'll do a consumer forum complaint, and whatever through your words and actions you were able to turn it around, and they went back happy. That is certainly a story moment. And third is the deal you saved, the client you rescued. Again, right? From if you are selling to companies, if you are selling to governments, all of those, these kind of situations also. When you almost lost the deal, and then how do you turn it around? Now the point is, if you can make a simple activity with your team, this need not be just you. Anyone who's actually interacting with your customer, you just make a simple ritual once a week, 20 minutes. Sit and just document कि what is that one customer moment worth telling. Right? You're like, अरे क्या? तुझे पता है ये हफ्ते क्या हुआ? Most of your team is already discussing that. It's just maybe not coming to you. So if you can actually organize just that, without a pressure, just note that, oh, this happened this week, right? And without the pressure of making it a great story there and there, just write it, document it. Then what will happen when you need, you will have these 10, 20, 50, 100 stories, and you will not have to think, "Arey, I don't have any story to tell." You will say, "Okay, wait, I have 100 instances. Let's pick those, and then what will fit basis that, let's create a story." And those stories will be much more powerful because they will be real. Right? If you try to make an imaginary story, the biggest problem is first you yourself are not that convinced. Correct? So if somebody will doubt, sometimes I will give you an example. This happened with me once. I was looking to hire someone when this was going on a clinic, and we had really good reviews for the clinic. And a person said, "I have read your reviews. These are too good to be true. I think तुमने reviews कर दिया." Now my point is, imagine this situation. If actually I would have made up the stories, I would have felt कि अरे यार shit, now this got. But because those were real genuine reviews, I'm like, I can give you numbers, pick up the phone, call up these customers and talk. Correct? So similarly, when you are, let's say, on the marketing front, like, a lot of people I'm sure will come and try to sell you services, give you gyan. But will you have the conviction on doing something or not? Because you'll say, "Hey, I already have proof. I have proof that there are 5 customers in the hua and this happened." You are not coming up from place of imagination, because you are not, all of you are not starting businesses, right? You are running businesses. You have real data points, real customers, real stories. Why not build on top of that? So this part is very, very important, I believe, and this is from a pure business storytelling standpoint. If you do this 20-minute exercise with your team, I believe if you don't do anything else also from today's workshop, this itself will give you so much ammunition in terms of, right, what marketing material, what website communication, if you're going and giving a talk, what to talk about. You understand things much better because you have all these customer stories, and you'll start seeing patterns. Once you have 40, 50, 60, you start seeing patterns. Oh, this happens a lot, that happens a lot. Your intuition will start getting stronger on these aspects. Because your 50-year-old family business has honestly a much better story than any kind of startup. But the problem is, has anyone written it down? Right? Because you have not written your own story, why will other people care? So you have to start yourself. You have to start with your team, get those stories out, maybe write those stories down. Okay? So the same Naveen that we talked about, right? People remember? Now the same Naveen instance I have written in a story format. That time you knew plain, right, line of things. So now I will tell you the Naveen story again. Naveen, 35, never imagined he'd need physio. He did yoga regularly. So when his neck started hurting, he dismissed it. Ho jayega. For weeks, he followed YouTube exercises, convinced he could fix it himself. Instead, the pain kept getting worse. Until one morning, during a routine stretch, something suddenly gave. It shot through his neck and he froze. He knew he needed help. But with long working hours, visiting a clinic several times a week wasn't practical. Online physio sounded like a compromise. How could someone assess him over a video call? Still, with little to lose, he booked a session. What surprised him wasn't that it was online, but how personal it felt. A physiotherapist watched every movement live, corrected him instantly, and adjusted his treatment as he improved. while AI ensured he performed every exercise correctly. 6 weeks later, the pain was gone. He was back to exercising on his own, working comfortably, and more importantly, he had stopped thinking about his neck altogether. Now these are the same instances. I have not changed any instance, right? But now the moment I have told you the whole thing like this, versus the way I told you as a chronology of events, right? If you remember, if you go back to Naveen's journey, this is what Naveen's journey was, right? Just chronology, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And this is how a lot of us tell stories, and that's why it doesn't land, and then we are like, this doesn't work, marketing doesn't work in our category, or all this is not relevant to our space. Because you are not telling it maybe the right way. So hence I am telling you Naveen's story first, and using this maybe we try to understand, or using some other examples we try to understand how can we, now that we've known that, assume we have done that exercise, we now have 50-100 story-worthy moments. They have still not become stories, they are story-worthy moments. How do you convert a story-worthy moment to a great story? So some structuring principles that will just help you make the story better, write stories better. And again, the next part is where you will connect this to this. And I am sure you are still thinking, but what will I do with writing stories? I am not a writer, I don't want to make my YouTube channel. But we will come to that in the next part. But please stay with me on the principles right now. The first is change over time. Every story must have a change. The story cannot start and end at the same time, same point. A story must show someone becoming different, right? Starting as one version, ending as another. I saw this, now I am this, right? No change is just a sequence of events. It's not a story. It's like you telling, हाँ मैं सुबह उठा, मैंने ये किया, फिर ये किया, दिन भर हो गया, दिन खत्म हो गया. Nobody wants to hear that story. You're like, ठीक है, अपना routine बता रहे हो. You think that is routine बता रहे हो. But somebody will come and still tell the same day, where in the morning, right, they believed that the world is so, and by the night, their whole worldview changed. Somebody said, I don't believe, I believe people are selfish. At the end of the day, they started to believe, no, people are very kind, they go out of the way to help. Maybe all of them done is their same routine that they were telling. But because they focused on a change that has happened, this is very important. And all our products and services do some change, right? If in that example, the dry fruit owner tells that, okay, the change is helping a child become energetic, a child who was weak becoming energetic, a small child growing via the nutrition, right? A child who was not eating because they were not liking taste of the food to actually finishing food in 5 minutes. All these are changes. So if you can denote a change, that is the first and one of the most important principle of storytelling, that there has to be some change has to happen. And again we can take examples of how you can depict changes, right? So again, in Naveen's story, if I start with, oh, this isn't serious, I can handle it myself, right? Versus you ended with, he stopped thinking about his neck altogether. So you have made a change. He started with the pain, and in the end he is now not thinking about the pain at all. Some change has happened in Naveen's life, right? From denial to getting the life back is a change. So change is very important for a good story. Second is, every story hides on that one 5-second moment. Now this is again something very interesting, because there is one moment where everything changes. And it is like, वो ये BC AD वाला बात है कि before that everything was different, and after that everything kind of changed. And you have to figure that, what is that part, right, which will help in that story making that transformation completely. And then you base your story around that, right? So that in Naveen's story again, it was on one morning during a routine stress, something suddenly gave it. It shot through the neck and he froze, right? And it is at that moment he realized that he needed help, he could no longer do it on his own. That 5-second moment was the key for Naveen to actually start right? Looking for option or taking an option. That moment really mattered. So in every story, can you find that moment that really changed things? Correct? Maybe in this our example case, right? The big one moment, one clear, very big 5-second moment is the pediatrician visit. Because almost everything changed from that. The second, if you want to create even 2 stories from this, the second would be the moment he had to conversation with his wife. Right? And the wife saying, you know, the shop from which you are buying is better quality and right price than mine. So you have to identify that one moment after which everything changed. That is very, very important. Okay, that 5-second moment, he switched, something literally changed like a switch. That is really key. Third is starting as close to the end as possible. If you go back to the example I told you about online physio with which we started, right, the first story. Now I started with the COVID lockdown being announced, right? I can also start with, okay, I am Ashutosh, I was born in Nagpur, I went to BITS Pilani to study engineering. Not relevant to that story. Correct? So to understand for that story, how close to the end, because the 5-second moment in that was me seeing Dr. Sheetal and the patient Geeta's expression, right? And then the idea coming. That was a 5-second moment for me. So how close to this? Because a lot of times, because we are comfortable telling chronology of events. So we will say, no, this is very important, I have to tell this. There are 20 things that happened from that lockdown to me figuring out that we can do online. But if I have to deliver it like a power-packed story, I have to omit some of those things. So I am still telling you what things have happened, but a lot of distracting things, like when I am having dinner, my dad was, my father was sitting on the table. I did not mention that to you because not relevant to the story. So you have to understand, if you don't say, we are all having family dinner, stuff like that, it will not matter, it will distract. So you have to understand what is your 5-second moment, start as close to the end as possible. Don't begin, right, as I said, don't begin at birth. Begin just before that change, right? You have to cut the setup. The more backstory you carry, the slower your story will move. It's like the weight, right, it will take excess weight. So again in Naveen's stories, I am giving everything with reference to Naveen's story also. So in Naveen's story, it was if you go too far back, that Naveen grew up doing yoga. He very point saying Naveen never imagined he would need physiotherapy. Correct? This is very closer to the moment when Naveen actually started needing online physiotherapy and then eventually online physio. So I started close to that. But I can always say that, okay, Naveen used to go to yoga class, right? Practiced basically exercises for 10 years of his life, but not relevant to this story. Maybe some other story it helps, great. But not this. To make it, to land it well, to deliver it well, you have to understand and start as close to the end as possible. This one is one of my favorites because majority of us do this mistake. So a good story is like, a race where there are a lot of twists and turns. And I think the best example, if you are driving on a highway, 120 में चल रहा है आराम से, कुछ traffic नहीं है, तो driver starts to fall asleep. Why? Because nothing is happening. Same thing happens with your audience. If you are telling this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and your audience will sleep, you will lose attention. But when you tell, right, if you go, for example, again go back to the story of what I told in the beginning. You were thinking, okay, I am talking about the lockdown. You were imagining something about the lockdown will come. From there I took you to how I am looking at myself as a personal failure. From there you came with me to say, okay, now he is going to quit. From him experience, we need to say, oh, now I will continue this. So you were not able to guess because there was a lot of but and therefore. Okay, I wanted to do this, but this happened, therefore I am doing this. So it's like going zigzag, zigzag. When you go zigzag is when the attention is there. Very simple principle. Today you go and tell at home about what has happened. If you tell, oh, the person came, he did this, people will not be interested. But if you try very simple, moving in a direction, he did this, but then he did also this. Right? But then he completely changed to doing this and therefore this happened. It will hold. People will be at the edge of it. Okay, so next what? Or bata. So how do you hold that attention? This is one very simple, easy to apply tool for that. Right? So again from Naveen's story, if you would have said he came in and we treated him and he got better. I could have said that, right? He came in, we treated him, he got better. Truth. No falsehood in this. But rather, He doubted online physio, he had no time for clinic, therefore he tried it, right? So you are moving it in different directions, again holding user, because the mind, if it can just anticipate what you are going to say, it will lose attention and get distracted. So to hold your customer attention also, you have to do, right, zigzag, but and therefore, not and, right? And is the biggest enemy. If you are also writing sometime any story and if you see kitne baar and are, if you are just connecting sentence with and, that is bad. Clear, very simple way to measure whether the story is good or not is this. The next one, again, this is also very interesting because all of us like to tell our big stories, right? How was my big foreign trip? How was this big project I started? But interestingly, the listener does not want to listen. That is the other harsh reality, right? And I'm not saying this because people are jealous. It's not about people being jealous. It's not, a lot of times it is not relatable to them. Okay, they can't relate to you, and hence big stories usually fall very flat. Okay, they are unrelatable, and hence if you make the story small about one specific moment, one specific change within your big thing, right? Within your international trip, you can tell one moment, oh where, but do you know that I lost my luggage and then this happened and this happened. It will be interesting and people might listen. But you will okay, by the way, do you know what is happening? We went day 1 to this place, then day 2 to this place, day 3. First you are violating that, you are doing and. Second, you are just making it unrelatable for people. So there is ways. I am not saying you should not tell the big stories, correct? But the idea is, can you make it smaller about a moment of change? Your big event, right? Your big project, big success. Because that is the thing. If you see today on social media also, there are some people when they tell about their work, you feel that they are either boasting, and then they will read the comments. Everybody will try to pull them down. And then there is sometimes that somebody is also posting about their success, and then everybody is cheering them up. People may not realize this, but a lot of times the person who gets cheered up, right, is hence either seen as the underdog. Sometimes they may not be the underdog, but they are telling the story that way. Because they are not making themselves, oh, I am invincible, I am great. They are talking about, okay, maybe the struggle, the challenges, and then how they won it. So you make it small, you make a big moment small. Again, very counterintuitive, right? Every business, as a business, you are told, you tell your best things. So you will tell customers serve, right? Whatever, if your hospital patients treated, all of these things, these many beds, these many facilities, these all services we provide, you will try to tell as big as possible. Again, I am not saying you need not do that, but there can be ways, if you try to make some of that small and as a story, it can land better, if that is your primary story. Sometimes these numbers, these big things are also supporting credibility. That is separate. It's a trust indicator, that is separate. But if your primary narrative is this, then it may not land as well. Because people are like, okay, fine. So what? What do I do? You are good, you are great. Okay, I am not interested in listening. Right? Somewhere the ownership of making people listen, because we are spending so much effort, time, money on that, is on us. That how can we convey it in a way that people want to listen? And more often than not, this falls fairly flat. A couple of very simple things. First is naming the problem early. That within the first 30 seconds, no, people should know what you are talking about. You can have twists and turns, but broad area people should know. There are times when people listen and 5 minutes later you are like, "Ye kaha ja raha hai? What is this person talking about? I am still not able to understand." Right? This happens. So please don't let that happen. In the 30 seconds, people should have a broader idea. Like maybe you will not know in Praveen's case that okay, in the end what will happen. But you certainly know that the story is about this guy called as Praveen and he has some pain. That is the story about. Correct? You don't know what will the end be, and that is fine. And that is why if you see with movies also a lot of times, people are like half time okay समझ में नहीं आया movie क्या थी क्या बोलना क्या चाह रहे हैं, because they are not able to address that in the early first few minutes or whatever. Movie obviously duration is separate, but from business standpoint I would say first 30 seconds, right? Max, this is the max. There will be a minimum to this also. In some places you have 1-2 seconds. We'll go to that, but max here is 30 seconds to help them understand what the story is about. And small and relatable always beats big and dramatic. This again goes back to that one only, that people want to share their wins. But if you can make it small and relatable, right, where people feel, oh yes, this happens to me also, right, oh this is me. The moment they relate, if you see very subconsciously yourself, a lot of content that you will share, if you share with someone, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, is sometimes relatable content, right? You relate to it, and you believe that person will also relate to it, and hence you are sharing. Similarly, when people also talk, relatability always wins. Now you have to get that if, let's say, you are there is a very senior chartered accountant, and if there is one very young 23-year-old who's starting a company coming to him, how can he make it relatable, let's say, versus him feeling intimidated that, oh, okay, maybe I'm not that good client, maybe I'm not that, right, I don't matter as much, I don't know, I might ask stupid questions. Versus flipping that and the person like, oh, don't worry, once upon a time when I started, no, मेरे को भी कुछ नहीं पता था, मैंने बहुत गलती की है. You have people, right, in our life who comfort us this way when we are very stressed. Why? Because then they will make it small and relatable. Sometimes a lot of great people have that skill that they make you feel comfortable by bringing themselves at a smaller level. So similarly in our storytelling, if we can make it relatable for them, that would really help. Correct? So yeah. So for example, again the example again, a patient flew in from abroad for this surgery versus a 35-year-old with neck pain from sitting at desk all day. We all know a 35-year-old with neck pain who has desk job, right? If not directly, indirectly. But a patient who flew in from US for some specific surgery, maybe if you're running a hospital you will know, but otherwise you may not know. So it's not a relatable instance for you to retell again, right? So that is the thing. And the last one is, can you make them feel it before it happens? So again, if you go to both stories, Praveen's stories, right? And it did not say that I tried online and it worked. It did not just say that. It said I had wasted weeks, pain was worse, I was on a video, I thought a video call would not help, but I booked it anyway. So it is like, can I take you, so iska visual representation is, when I am as a storyteller, what I am seeing, are you seeing that with me? If I am feeling anxiety and stress when I am narrating, like when the character is feeling that anxiety and stress, are you as a listener feeling that? And even in your business communication, can you get them feel, not just tell, feel what you feel? Because people also act on emotion, right? If sometimes you are watching a movie and you are crying and you are using your phones and somebody comes in the house and says, "Kyun ro rahe bhai?" Because they are not relating to you. You are engrossed in that movie. You are feeling what the characters feel and you are crying. Somebody who's come to your place does not relate. And they might feel, "Arey, why are you crying watching a movie?" So if you can get people to feel what you feel before you tell, whether you go back to the moment of me telling you the story about Fix Health, where you felt that to some extent, I'm hoping that anxiety, that feeling of dejection, that feeling of, okay, I'm about to quit, I'm frustrated. If you don't feel that, then when I tell you I have an idea, it just feels like, okay, na, ek idea aa gaya, you work on another idea, what's the big deal about it? If we also have ideas, you also had an idea, it's okay. But when you feel that, okay, you are on the verge of quitting, verge of, right, very frustrated, and then it flipped. So this is called a backpack. So they are, they are sitting, those emotions are sitting on their own back as well, what you want them to feel. Very, very important. So, again, every story, just like we said, a user has 4 stages. Every story has simple 4 parts. These are not stages, these are 4 parts. There is a hook, there is some tension in the story, and interestingly now, once you realize this, you go back and it could be good or it could be bad, because almost every movie for you could be ruined. Because if you see every movie, you will see every movie will have this. Every Bollywood movie, every Hollywood movie mostly will have this. There is a hook, there is a tension, there is a moment and change. The story arc. Again, nothing that I am telling you here today is my own. All of this is well documented, well research put in, people have put in books. I have read, I am just a messenger honestly here. So hook is what is a hook? Hook is the situation or belief that completely makes the audience say that's me. I am saying now in context of business storytelling, not movie storytelling. In business context, if your user feels, oh, that is me, ये तो मेरी बात कर रहा है. So that is hook. You have hooked their attention, right? Tension is then the obstacle or conflict that prevents them from getting what they want. The moment is the turning point that we talked about, right? Where something changes and their perspective or experience completely shifts. And the last is the change. The outcome that shows life is now meaningfully better than before. Right? I am sure for all of our customers ultimately, right, whether it's a business or you are not pitching and saying, okay, if you work with us, your life will be worse off than it is, right? You are in a way saying that your life will be better. Whether you will get what you want, food-wise, your health-wise, money-wise, right? Your life will be better. So every story that we write will, right, if it has these things, it will then count, kind of be it will land better. It will be a better story. So that is the thing. So again, if you go back to the Naveen story, now for Naveen, his whole story you again break into 4 parts. Simple. The first part, hook, right, is when he is talking about doing yoga, discussing that it happens, he will follow YouTube. Then tension, and instead of the pain getting better, it is actually getting worse. Correct? And then he understanding, trying to understand, but he being skepticism also, that online is a compromise, without assessment will not work. Then the moment comes that, he's booked the session and the surprise that, okay, right, I am getting that personal attention, the physio is watching every moment, the AI is giving feedback. That is the moment of change for Naveen, right, in terms of this. And then finally, eventually 6 weeks later, how the change happened from the initial life, when he was living with that pain, to now he is not having to think about it at all. So simple, like 4 stages that every story can break in. Again, might feel very technical that why should I understand all of this, but then we'll come to why this, because I think actually not come, we have discussed a part of this. The idea is if you deliver your story such a way, the story will have more recall, it will land better. That's the simple idea, right? So I think, what's the time? 8. So again we have 2 things. One is either we can go to the next section where we now connect how we have understood the user's 4 stages with the writing of a story, and again with Naveen's story I will kind of show you exactly actionable in an actionable way. Or we can also pause for 5 minutes and actually write one story, maybe, right? And maybe the same one for the purchase that you did. We can try to write the story with what the hook is. Again, anyone, like audience, what is the preference?
Whatever you suggest.
We'll go with writing another story.
Go to write, correct? So, sir, again, are you okay? We'll continue the same because now everybody has context of your story, correct? Please come. We will try to now as a, right? So we are now all selling basically dry fruits, correct? So we have to write the story of the user from that standpoint, that if we are selling a dry fruits and now we know these principles, correct? What is the story going to be about? So, fine. Let's try to do this. Again, I think I'm also doing this for the first time live, so it will be interesting. Structuring principles we have. So we have a change over time, right? So what is the change? What is the change moment? I think let's all suggest what is that one moment around which you want to write. There can be multiple moments in this story, right? Which is that one moment around which you believe the strongest story can be written?
Child's nutrition.
One is
Child's nutrition and the...
no, so child nutrition is a goal. But what happened? जो हुआ उसमें से, is there a moment that you would pick कि okay, the main change moment has to be before and after around this?
Pediatrician.
One option is obviously pediatrician is it. Any other options, any other suggestions? Which other instance can be?
His childhood love for the dry fruits.
Childhood love for dry fruits, correct. But that is a little out of scope, at least from a point of view of this business purchase. Correct? So of the events that we know, is there any other moment that you would want to pick?
I feel
Discussion with his wife, right?
feel as he have gone through the same phase, like his mother feed the same dry fruits.
Correct.
So he want to try it for his daughter.
Correct.
So I feel so.
So that is one. That is what similar to, I think, right? He said. So I think two very clear ones that we are seeing is, one is the discussion with wife, correct? And so let's say if you try to pick any one of the two, okay? If we are picking what ma'am said, pediatrician one, now we have to find the before and after. Because it is like a movie, right? Your movie ends with happily ever after, but before that there is the opposite of that. Your starting point of the story has to be opposite of your end point. So let's say if we are picking the story of where the change moment is the pediatrician saying that okay, now you can give the dry fruit to your child. Okay? So what is the opposite of that? End we know. End is father happy that the pediatrician has allowed. That is the end. So then what should be the start opposite of that? What is the opposite feeling of that?
Give your child dry fruits.
At
Sorry,
present,
yeah, please you can take a mic.
Never give your child a dry fruit.
Correct, right? So rather never give, it will be unable to give. And this is where maybe our other story will also merge. So if your change moment is pediatrician allowing, correct? So this is a happy time that he is able to give now, right? And then he has to be before that an opposite emotion. So he has to be sad if you want to do that story, correctly? Which is where, if you try to articulate what he said, what was he sad about? He said, I have always eaten dry fruits. I have always enjoyed dry fruits. I was not able to give dry fruit to my child. Because doctor had said no. But then that is the starting point. So you start the story with sad to be unable to give. To give what he enjoyed. So the transition that we are talking about, the change moment, is the father being sad about not being able to give dry fruit to him now being happy that now he can finally give it. How do we kind of follow the first principle? Is give kind of, so you realize, right? Once you choose this is where you will have to be selective. You can't just say, I will go with chronology of events. You have picked this has to be the opposite of that. Because then only the tension will come in the story. So your change moment, if you say is pediatrician, then after you know is fixed for you, before you have the liberty to choose. You're still going to choose true. You're not going to write some fake story, but you might try to basically modify it in a bit that it lands better, but you still will try to do what actually happened with it. Correct? So second is we said 5 second moment. Here it's very clear that 5 second moment is the pediatrician saying yes. Now starting close to the end. Correct? So what is the end? We know the end. End is the chamber of the pediatrician. Correct? That is very clearly established end because from there he is coming off, let's say, happy. So we cannot start with my child was born because that is 1 year back. Okay? You cannot start that way because you may do it that way. Okay, whenever a children is, let's say I am a trader of that, right? मेरे को इससे idea and I say I am now market saying whenever a child is born, that time you should give this as a mithai or whatever gifting or purchase this for nutrition. But that's not right. कोई एक साल पहले child got born 9 months before, right? 12 months before. But that is when the moment happened. At 12th month, if you are writing, right, that pediatrician visit in Jan, 9 months, correct? So that is the moment. उसके पहले का हमको लिखना है just close. So maybe now we will try to understand. Now some things we will have to uncover also more talking to him. कि just before what happened. But let's go first next to the next principle. What can we do? So but and therefore. So now let's say we decide what the story is. One very easy way to do the story could be because you still eat some dry fruits, right? When do you eat daily?
Daily.
Morning?
Morning, night,
Morning,
almost
night?
throughout the day.
Great.
I'll be having.
Perfect. Right? So he loves dry fruits. So the story would actually start with this. It was one fine, it was Jan, right? It was Jan, one fine afternoon, right? Good cold temperature. He was having his regular dry fruits and he had a dry fruit which reminded him of his childhood and which reminded him of his mother feeding him the dry fruit and the happy memories he had. And then immediately he felt, okay, this was a very interesting bonding activity that he had with his mother, right? Can he do the same with his child? So now you get the point. For the initial tension, what I have done is I have, and once we go in, because we are knowing that this is there might be some creative liberty maybe I am taking, maybe I don't know if it is sitting in the afternoon or not, but you can actually go more in detail and get full accurate story also. But you can make your starting the story on that lens, right? I am, this is my, let's say, of multiple dry fruits. Do you have favorite dry fruit also?
Strawberry.
Perfect, right? So you make it even specific. You can just call out like I was eating strawberry. It was also January, season of strawberries. You add some context to that, and then I felt very sad that the memories that I have had with my mom around dry fruit eating, I am not having this with my child. Can I have those? And then I got excited. So now you start with that first feeling. I have a good feeling. I want that feeling with my child, but I am not sure. Correct? Therefore, I will talk to my pediatrician and ask, can I give? Correct? So I have automatically used my next principle where I have created that change in direction. Right? I start with the premise that I want to do this, but I am unsure. Therefore, I will talk to the pediatrician. So now obviously we are creating a very small story. There could be like a full long story also just on this instance because it is on how we do it. But I am giving you an example. So a very simple craft where people will realize, okay, this person really liked the strawberry dry fruit, but he was not sure whether he could give. Therefore, he asked his pediatrician. Then he went to the pediatrician, right? First, and so this is like the first part of the story. Then, if you want, you can also add multiple layers to it where this whole story, if you are vertically decided that our movement is this, pediatrician learning. So your happy movement has to be this. So now let's go to the next principle. Making big story small, right? Now again, for someone it might feel, oh, this is a small story. For someone like you who really enjoys dry fruits, it might be a really big story. But then he's made it, if you make it about, right, an instance, something very small, about a memory that you have with your parent when you are growing up. Now all of us can relate to that. We may not have had a dry fruit ritual with our parent, right? But you might have some ritual with your parent that you kind of cherish. And can the story be about that? So that even if somebody who has not, right, purchased dry fruit will, or had that, will relate to it. Correct? So naming the problem early, you really understand this because if you start with that, I was sitting in an afternoon, right, enjoying my favorite strawberry, but dry fruit, you know, कुछ तो इंसान के dry fruit के बारे में बात है. So naming the problem early is also sorted. First 30 seconds, that comes to us. Small and relatable. Again we said, right, this is about you sharing or cherishing a moment that you had with your child or your parent and wanting to pass it on, let's say, to your child. Fundamental is this. This is not a story about dry fruit, that's what you understand. This is a story about a father having a emotion or a memory, shared memory with a parent and wanting to do the same with the child. Now everyone who is a parent here will automatically relate to it. It need not be dry fruit, but when it is told through dry fruit, I am sure now strawberry dry fruit is something that will stick in all of your heads for the next weeks and months, right? You will know. I never knew before this, okay, strawberry dry fruit, somebody is eating, let's say, dried strawberry. But now, if I tell it in this story format, in an emotional way, we have seen this, right? Google ads, Cadbury ads, where we really feel moved. There are ads around partition, right? Google does so many of these where they are very hard moving. I have never, let's say, seen someone who, shared it with somebody, one sibling or friend left there, other person here. But still I relate because that ad is not about partition. While it's on Independence Day, it's about a friendship that was lost. And then you relate to that feeling that a friendship was lost. So here this story will eventually become a story about a ritual you had with your parent that you want to start with your child, and the permission of the doctor was your change movement that was kind of the tension कि पर डॉक्टर ने नहीं बोला है तो नहीं दे सकते. So that is the tension That was the concern, right? And then make them feel it before it happens. So the more in detail we go about him talking about how good that memory was, what the taste of that strawberry was, I'm sure सबको में पानी आ ही जाएगा, because you are feeling, right? That's something very simple that maybe you've never tasted in life. But if I talk about it, the feeling part, so then you are also anticipating कि क्या बोला pediatrician, right? It becomes that, oh, what did happen? Did she allow? Did she not allow? I want to know. So the customer will, get engaged. You are not pushing on their face कि नहीं मेरा content पढ़ो. You are pulling them in. They are saying, tell me what happened next, right? And then let's assume, इसमें हो जाएंगे, but let's assume इसमें ultimately, then in the end you add, if you are a brand, you write this whole story, you realize this is the real story, and in the end you just tweak that story to saying, okay, the doctor says dry fruit देना है ना, give off this XYZ brand, ये डॉक्टर अप्रूव्ड है, बच्चे को चोकिंग नहीं होगा, सेफ है खाने के लिए. इमेजिन करो आपने वो पूरी स्टोरी सुनी with that brand, you are much more likely to purchase it if you are a parent, right, with a small child and dry fruit देने का सोच रहे हो, right? तो पूरी यूजर की रियल स्टोरी ली, and that real story in the end, in the very small part, you just talked about the brand. पूरा starting में you are not talking about the brand, the features, nothing. You are just talking about the user story. That is what is important, and hence, if you now see the story, the hook that everybody gets related to in the story is having a cherished moment with a parent, right? And wanting to do with child. The tension is, don't know if it is permissible, I don't want to harm my kid, right? The moment is the pediatrician allowing, and the change is the parent who was anxious to now be happy and elated that I can do the same with my child. Something as fundamental as that purchase, for which he also not have thought that consciously about it. But now if we are all starting tomorrow a dry fruit business, we know very clearly that this is a very one single individual, single insight can now create so much content for your social media, hoarding, advertisement, YouTube content, pamphlet, packaging, right? Just one single insight, one single user story. So that's it. Again, thank you so much, sir, again, for this. Right, so again, we've understood that one, right, for something that is seemingly very small, a purchase of dry fruit, there is so much involved, and then again, as a business owner, if I understand that, and then can I restructure? I have not said a lie, I have exactly told the true story. I may have amplified emotion somewhere, right, but do all of us agree that the story that we constructed is in a way the true story? We have just kind of told it better than somebody just telling you the chronology of ye hua. We told the same story. We just told it better so that now all of us feel emotionally attached to that decision of the pediatrician or that purchase process. Something that is such a commodity, right? Purchasing dry fruit might seem like such a commodity कि अरे इसमें क्या ही सोचना है, अच्छा कौन दे रहा है, सस्ता कौन दे रहा है, ले लो. But there can be so much that can be built for something as commoditized as dry fruit. So then if it can be done for this, then for all of other services, products that we are doing where we have some USPs, we have not even talked about a lot of USP, right, in this story though. It's just very much about that, like, and right, you get it, this might just be enough. You are not talking about anything about the dry fruit in this whole part. But still that is enough to close a purchase. Because maybe that does not matter. We feel, and that's why we all need a USP. But maybe the user does not. Or maybe let me say, the USP for the user is something else. We are looking somewhere else, the user is wanting somewhere else. Because we are not understanding. So the last part is where we now try to tie it all together. That now you've known on one end, right, that what exactly is a good story. On the other end, you also know what really matters to the user, how does the user make a decision. You are now saying that, okay, fine, now how do I marry these two things? Because these seem like kind of independent concepts, right? कि okay, story ऐसे, how do you find stories, how do you tell stories, great. But my user is wanting something else. To one level we have done it with his story to try to understand. But now still you have to understand in this case also, we have the story. So with one user you have talked, right? If again, going back, if we are again dry fruit sellers, we have understood his story, great. But that will not mean we will get a new sale. We will get a new sale only if we are able to apply that story well to drive our business. Now how do we do that? Right? So there are in fact two things here. You have to understand the games of attention. When the user is paying full attention, you tell them the whole story. Right? I have the attention of the audience here, I was able to tell you that initial 7-minute story. But imagine I come across someone who is walking past and hey hi, as a courtesy hello, and I start 24th March 2020 PM Modi ke dhire arey bhai kya bol raha hai. So you have to also understand what is the attention level of the user. So let's say you have a face-to-face call, somebody is coming and reading on your website, right? You are speaking, you are presenting to someone, you have the attention. Going to show the outcome. You don't have enough time, right? Then you have to focus on, okay, ye tha, ye ho gaya. So let's say you are holding, classic case. There are so many holdings you go around the city which will have you count the words. They will have more than 50 words. And if you see that and somebody asks you in 10 seconds, what do you remember? You will not remember more than 2 words. Correct? Similarly, event sponsorships. WhatsApp messages. People will write such long messages also. And within the email also so much text. Pamphlet, brochure also a lot of times we see, right? So much text. Does not land. Because the attention span is not that. You have to understand where the user is seeing, how much attention they have when they are looking at that aspect of yours. So there are two things, right? Two kind of. Now we'll come into creating that storytelling, marketing material for that story. One is push, where the user is not looking for you. You are pushing it to them. The first is hoarding and mass media, right? Whether it is TV ad, hoarding, radio. Second is social media, in terms of at least somebody is scrolling reels. Second could be somebody is coming to YouTube and searching that separate. But somebody is just scrolling reels. It's also a kind of push. They did not decide, okay, today I will see, right, this brand's video. They just saw that. The third is event and sponsorship. Again, they are not buying the event. They are not looking at that other thing. So you are pushing it to them. Then pull. This is where the user really wants to know. They are already looking. Right? This can be your business listing. If I have gone and seen your Google reviews, Google listing and I am reading reviews. Now I am seeing, no, you have not forced me to. So my attention span will be more. I have come to your website, I have gone to your YouTube and search videos. Right? Word of mouth. So then there is a pull. I am not sure if it's visible here. So for the 4 stages that we defined, right? First thought, passive looking, active looking and deciding. These are the different surfaces that you have available. So this generally more helpful. Holding is a push and can only accommodate very little attention. That means if I want to research about 2 companies giving a service, I am not making a decision by seeing hoarding. Right? So instead of hoarding it, tell you, oh, this exists. Oh, new company got launched, new hospital got launched. Awareness, first thought, passive looking, right? Social media. Interestingly, social media is one of those. I was not thinking, so reel aa gaya. That is my first thought and passive looking. But मैं खुद actively search कर रहा हूँ, I am liking it and going following the channel, searching for that content. That becomes my active looking and deciding stage. I might have experienced, let's say, a service, but I want to read reviews of other people on that aspect. So I will go to your channel and see are there any other reviews. So hence social media will become that, right? Business listings. So this is again something I will share. This is not to remember, but the idea is this is where you marry your understanding of the user stage with different surfaces that you have to reach the user. You and user are interacting via medium. That medium, that surface has, it's not just about the size of the surface, it's about the attention span of the surface. and the attention span and the purpose for which the user is using the service, not how you want them to use. Right? You might want them to use it for something else, but how the user is seeing. For the same video that you make, one user's behavior is they land through it after searching a topic and coming to your video. And second, the user scrolled and got the video. You made the same video, but if it was used as a passive looking, it will serve a different purpose. And if it was made for like using active looking by the user, it will serve a different purpose. Your average view time itself will change. Because scrolling में 3 5 seconds, okay fine. If I have searched and come, I will watch for it, let's say 30 seconds, 40 seconds more. So just understanding first that what are the surfaces and what are the different stages of the user, that is very important. Right? So 2 rules for any story. Stage will decide which story to tell, but surface will tell what size of the story to tell. Okay, and again repeat. Stage, which story? So the 4 stages we had, right? And surface. Attention span will define your story length. Very simple. Each stage and surface impact the story length. If you are rushing past one line, right? If you have straight in with you, then you can tell the whole story. So remember Naveen, now we will all change ourselves to, let's say, a clinic who is trying to, because see, ideally Naveen, for different stages, passive, active, deciding, for each stage, for every surface, different communication material will have to be made. कि अगर आपको नवीन को passive looking में पकड़ना है, but in passive looking on a holding, right? In passive looking in a referral will be different than a deciding and a in clinic signage, and deciding and a WhatsApp message. A WhatsApp message you can send at all stages, but the content will have to change. I am again not going a little into detail of this because this can again be a 1-to-hour discussion that how do you marry this. Again we can discuss this offline if people are interested. But let's say the last one, because Naveen is at a deciding stage. What does that mean? That Naveen has tried all the yoga, online, self, YouTube videos, stuff like that. Nothing is working. He has thought he wants to take. Now he is comparing between does online work or should I go to offline. So deciding stage is final, A versus B kind of a situation. Now here if you are an organization which is delivering online physiotherapy like Excel, what is the different kind of things you do? So if you are sending a brochure that Naveen is picking, let's say you've partnered with an ortho, right? And Naveen is sitting, is getting a brochure. You will talk a lot in the brochure. But if you are sending a WhatsApp, then lesser attention. And finally, if you are putting a signage in the hospital, then even lesser attention. Because Naveen is not wanting to look, he just happens to look at the signage. So I have actually kind of created for Naveen how the same story we will tell, but package it to different size basis. So through this I want to basically convert to size. You have understood one story, we have made the dry fruit story, right? But the same story across different surface will go differently. First, hospital signage. What do you see? Very less words, big image. If you just see 5 seconds, close your eyes and see what to try to remember. There are 3-4 words that will stay with you, the image that will stay with you, right? And what it is saying, you are never exercising alone. It's not talking about online karta hai, zyada nahi karta, it's just saying you will not exercise alone. Because I know that at this stage for somebody like Naveen it was about ki, will it happen, recorded rahega, kya rahega, I don't know. So I am just speaking on one value, saying that you are not alone doing this, right? There is some side information, but honestly, जैसे आपको दिख नहीं रहा है, वैसे user को register भी नहीं होता है. So you can actually ignore that. The lesser you write, but the more pointed you write. Same big story of Naveen, but you are using in a very small words. Then if you are sending a WhatsApp, again I think for clarity you will not be able to see, but I will tell you what this WhatsApp is about. Now WhatsApp I can talk a little more. I can talk, the words will say that I don't think online physio will work. I didn't think online physio would work, I was wrong. And then it talks about, hey, here is a story of a person who had a similar thought process and how it changed and why it worked. So the same thing मैंने थोड़ा elaborate करके बताया. ठीक है? तो हम अभी ये जो तीनों मटेरियल बना रहे हैं, this is for a new user like Naveen, right? This is not for like that. And I'm telling, and finally, if I have brochure, I can go in a lot more detail. Where I'm also telling about, again, starting, I thought online physio would never work. 6 weeks later, I wasn't thinking about my neck anymore. And then it also, hello? I think the cell is gone. Yeah, and then it also talks about, right, what happens, what stopped him. It's like a very detailed thing. If you give this, if you write this text on the signage in the hospital, nobody is going to read. You will feel you are conveying everything, but you are actually conveying nothing. Similar with your business, right? In your store, in your office, in your website, whatever, you have to understand what user, what stage, and to the same story. These all three things are, by the way, not different things. These are same things being conveyed at different lengths. This is the attention span. Here I am just talking about not doing it alone. Here I am talking about, okay, by the way, आप compare कर रहे हो, this is what is there, and then a little more detail. Okay, you read the whole story about one person who had this, like a little case study. Correct? So yeah, that is all. That how you can use the same thing. I just want to end with this, right? That a brilliant idea that you have is the spark, but the powerful communication is the oxygen that can turn into wildfire. So idea is obviously needed, but it is necessary but not sufficient enough for it to really become big. So yeah, that is all from mine. Thank you so much.
Two words of business matters and 4 pages of customer decisions and finding a great story and using the story and how to use that story to grow it as a business. Now the floor is open to the questions.
Yeah, please. You told that, and then how come you come into the entrepreneur's journey?
Okay.
So that point is not attended.
Yeah. So I told us from a personal journey standpoint. So one is honestly I wanted to go to a IIT. I never wanted to be an engineer. Okay, the idea was to go to good college. That is the deputy, right? So obviously IIT, they gave BITS guy again, really great campus, really good life. But after going there, I realized now what to do, because the goal was to get into it. Right? The beauty part of BITS was that there is no attendance compulsion, 0% attendance. So you go, you don't go, does not matter for the classes. But there are so many things happening that kind of forced me to think what I want to do. That was the one initial trigger where I figured out that okay, maybe I want to build businesses. That is the inner spark or inner itch more than a spark, I would say. Tried to build one online counseling platform in college, right? Something happened, something didn't work. Then it so happened that I ended up being a student union general secretary on campus, and Pilani is a very remote place. The nearest cities are Delhi and Jaipur, so more like 3-4 hours apart. And the healthcare on campus was really bad, right? And the thing is, I come from a family of doctors, so for me it was always a call up. I could call up people and ask about health. But here people had for simple things travel 4 hours and stuff like that. And hence when I was trying to become the student union general secretary, one actually manifesto point of mine was, can we set up a telemedicine center on campus? This is back in 2014, right? Where it's pre-Geo era. But again, so once I won, I worked on that project extensively. While that got stuck in admin roadblock, that opened me to how maybe technology and health could come together. And with that, I ended up reading about some Indian business model. So again, I had always heard that the healthcare of the West is superior. But when I read about Narayan Hrudayalaya, Arvind Eye Care, I realized Harvard Business School में India की case studies पढ़ा रहे, right? So we are doing something right for sure. And then connecting that and that my age and the experience and the uniqueness I come from, that I studied, right, in an engineering background. I will not say I studied engineering because I did not, but I studied an engineering background, had all this exposure and access and alumni connect, and coming from a family of doctors, I said, why not do something in health? Was fortunate enough that I could take that risk. I did not take up I had a campus job offer, I did not join that consulting job, went back to my hometown of Nagpur and said, let me do something. And because again I said that I don't know anything about healthcare, I need an expert, I need to pick a field where I know an expert, right? And who better to pick someone that you live with? And hence in my initial story, I did not reveal, but Dr. Sheetal is also my mom, right? So Dr. Sheetal is my mom, has been a physio. I said I can pick her brain. मैं साथ में रहता हूँ, शुद्धा दिमाग का हूँ, I can ask her questions. So it so started that I don't have anything about any just this field. The idea was to do something at the intersection of creating impact for the lives of people at scale and building something of economic value. So उसके intersection में क्या है? Healthcare 20 days not doing nothing. I just said I am not doing that job. I came back. I started studying the clinic. I just started trying to understand. Then in a year the idea came, can we build the dominoes of physiotherapy? And we started building chain of clinics. So we set up 3 in 3 years. Then we had a partnership with a 200-bed hospital that was supposed to actually go live on 1st April 2020. Before that, COVID came. So वो सब went out of the window. Then this online thing happened. And then again, we got some push because of COVID. Then COVID receded. So people felt, oh no, online will not work at all. But then we realized different use cases where it is very beneficial. For people in tier 1 cities, there is still a traffic hassle. Most clinics work in office hours. People want to either exercise early morning or late evening. The clinics nahi hai. With us you can exercise as early as 7 AM. Then for elder people there is dependency. Bachcha chhodega, laega, ya the child is not living in the same city, right? So for them that benefit because it's very simple, click. There is no fancy app nahi hai. WhatsApp पे आपको link आएगी, join करो. It will open on your phone, no extra hardware needed. So made it simple. So then we realized geographically we can also reach out to patient internationally. And the physios also, who otherwise have either a lot of them either in the home visits end up getting wasting 50-60% time in travel. So that gets saved. Or as I was telling, more than 70% of physios are females. So a lot of them end up dropping from the workforce to manage family and responsibilities in children. So with this they are now able to work from home. Today we luckily have a team of 80+ physiotherapists all across home, 100% females, right? And they do online sessions. So physio might be sitting in some remote part of Tamil Nadu, husband is placed in the army, and the patient is some hotshot in Singapore taking a session, right? So to be able to solve that asymmetry. So we found those use cases. Obviously, we have our own challenges that every business has, but yeah, this has been the journey.
So in the initial stages, like say 1 to 3 years, did you ever thought of quitting that?
So at least
if you have faced that, how you have overcome?
I would say at least the last one was many years ago. Right on what you compare yourself with, what is your reference point, correct? Those kind of things. Honestly, quitting, feeling like quitting, again, right, like my story also. I really came to that point where honestly wanted to quit there. That is one thing I have told in the story also, but there have been numerous different points where like I'm nahi ho raha hai. What has helped me till now, and I answer in 2 parts actually. What has helped me continue has been one, a set of people around me who had unwavering faith is what I call. Who are like, yaar tu nahi karega, tu kaun karega, tere se to hoga, right? So when I am doubting myself, they are not doubting me. That has been helping me, and that has included like some friends from college and family, primarily, right? So they have had that unshakable faith. No, you can do it. We know you are born to do this. Like that level of confidence. When I am like, nahi, listen, I want to quit. So that is one thing that has honestly helped me there. But the second part which I want to answer, which is also an interesting relation I had last year. See, while on one side obviously resilience and continuing is very important, but sometimes we try to promote that, we also look down on quitting. Now one very interesting insight has been, and one of the patients come mentors recommended a book to me also, very nice book, where he said, why are we looking it as continuing or quitting? Why don't we look at quitting as a skill? Just like storytelling is a skill. Ab aisa to nahi, you go on the road and you start telling story. You have a skill, you know when to tell it, right? So if rather than looking at quitting as emotional, you look at a skill. Sometimes quitting is good. Like for example, I may not have quit the whole business, but I have quit so many projects. We all start some projects, right? Within the business, it fails, we shut that project. Now, can you really quit well? If you just change the lens to this, quitting is not bad. But why are you quitting? You have to understand. Are you quitting out of fear, out of burnout? Or are you quitting in a well thought out way? That I wanted to test this. Let's say tomorrow, you put up a hoarding for your business in the peak Nizamabad Square. You had some assumption. I am spending 50,000 rupees, these many customers will come, this much business will happen, right? And that does not. And you say, no, I can't quit, so I will never remove the hoarding. You have to pay 50,000 every month, right? So you will quit that. So that's also quitting. But if you are only quitting without trying to understand that why did it not work, then maybe you are not learning from that quitting. But if you had a hypothesis and you said, okay, I believe this would happen and this did not turn out, and maybe these are the reasons because of it, then I did not understand that the hoarding did not have lighting and the majority of traffic is at night time and they can't see the hoarding. Let's say if you learn from it, then that's fine. And if you want that book is, I don't exactly remember, I think The Power, Learning How to Quit. More like, I will share the exact name, but that gave me honestly personally a very good perspective. Now I no longer look at quitting as bad. Quitting is a skill. I should know when to use it, I should know when to not use it. That's all. Thank you. Go ahead. Yes.
But in the case of like exhibition, shopping malls and supermarkets, there won't be any struggling points. I mean, they used to go for fun and they'll be spending a lot of money. And many times when I go to this Vinayak Nagar road, my wife will be suddenly, अरे इनको पल्ली ले वो, आपके जी पल्ली होना, उसके बाद अगर गए तो 3,000 4,500 हो जाते हैं. And the second one, sir, like if there is a hoarding like 40% off in clothing, people will be just going there.
Correct. So we'll answer both. The first one that where you said, right? And the customer, I don't disagree with the Chinese if she goes to a mall or a demand. So the struggling moment is very simple. But if I give a real example, if the day is going bad, that itself is a struggling moment, and if going there lifts the mood, then you are solving for that. Purchase is happening secondary, maybe, but struggling moment is that. Similarly, if you actually talk to user, you will realize, because like for example, she's a different kind of user. If for me as a user, if I speak, I will not go to mostly a mall myself unless there is a very clear struggling moment. So if I have to, let's say, right, if I have to come here for a talk and I do not have a shirt to wear and I want to wear a black shirt. So my struggling moment was not the shirt, was that I have to go for a talk to Nizamabad and I don't have something to wear. So struggling moment is always there. Without struggling moment there is no purchase. It is like law of gravity. It is there. You may not accept it or understand it, that is separate. Right? We may take time to understand it. But when you talk, you will understand there is certainly struggling moment, and I think no better thing than like malls and stuff like that, because they certainly, like for a lot of people I know, who people call window shoppers, right? For them, what is the struggling moment? It is like they want a good AC place to chill out or move around on Sunday. Their struggling moment is actually that. They are not really going for shopping. But then now that they are there, they end up purchasing that separate. But the struggling moment, and that is why some malls will categorically have this child activities, popcorn, right? It's not to earn money from that popcorn stall, but maybe they know that some people will get engaged because of these things. Or I think, like I have one relative was telling me, right, ki, for example, why is food court at the top? Or why is the movie theater at the top? It's not just a cost call, it's also that call, because one struggling moment that a mall is solving is people wanting to come for a movie. And then by the way, because you have come, you are going through all that, you are purchasing. So struggling moment is there, you have to identify. Right? Second, what you said about somebody having discount and hence people coming. That is where you have to also answer two things. One is, you have to still understand, are people purchasing because of it or not? Take two cases, right? Because 10 people will go, not everyone will purchase. The one who purchases, you have to understand, broadly they had a struggling moment. Let's say, the person was in the zone of, you say let's say a dress. Now, the person wanted to buy a dress, but it was not that urgent. Correct? So, they are in a passive looking stage. Now different users can be in different phases for different times. You will see a lot of times, right? If I tell you different, I want to buy this, I will go and buy this. Right? For example, your wife will be like, no, let me see what is there. So that let me see is passive looking. It's not active looking. Active looking is I want this. She is doing passive looking, but sometimes she finds something and quickly she will go from a passive looking to an active looking to deciding, because she already has some parameters in mind. Okay, this function is coming, Rakhi is coming, I have to give this. Right? We had this recently. Our parents went to Gujarat. They did not intend to buy, but they saw something very good. And then they said, okay, Rakhi is coming for our brothers and sisters, and they did not want to buy anything, and they ended up buying 10 things. Why? Because somewhere it was there. They had a struggling moment, right? Maybe they were also not aware of it as much. But when something came off that small and then somebody nudged them that Rakhi is coming, then they ended up moving from passive looking to active looking to actually then deciding. So decision may not always happen outside. In that case, the decision was, okay, Rakhi, what do we give? We give these things. How much budget? This budget. Right? This thing is in much lesser cost, but we are getting it cheaper, actual value is much higher. So that decision stage, which is trade-off, this versus this, right? Me giving something which I have at home versus having to carry so much load from Gujarat back to home. That trade-off they were okay to take because they said net they would maybe save money but be able to give much more value. So everyone will go through that stage. Just sometimes the whole stage will happen in their head and you may not know that that has happened. And hence, and similar, some people will actually just go because there is a discount, but they are in passive looking and they are not even moving forward. They look and they are like, हाँ कुछ पसंद नहीं आया, they will come back. So that is passive looking. They are in passive looking. For a person to move from one stage to another, there has to be some trigger. In fact, a lot of time this 40% off only today is a trigger to push someone to buy from passive to active. But they have a struggling movement. Without that, they are not buying. And actually, struggling movement may not be functional. So I have not got in detail. But again, if you read this is a lot of the 4 stages from a book called as Demand Side Sales. Okay, by Bob Moistar. He talks about there are different emotions also that work. So there is a functional emotion. I may buy a cloth because I need it. Right? There is a motivation, there is a functional motivation. There could be emotional motivation. That I feel good in terms of when I purchase something, I feel good. So I am just buying to feel good. Emotional motivation. There could be a social motivation. When I wear new and go, my friends and family appreciate me. So why I go to one stage from another may not just be logical, and just because we don't understand does not mean that that does not exist.
So thank you so much, Ashutosh. And now we have 2 pictures coming from NGS. So one is Cloudness by Karan, Achyut and Varshit. I request 3 of them to come and feature.
Achyut of grade 10 Navapati Global School Nizamabad meets my teammates Karan and Varshit. This is a Cloudness system franchise based inside the apartments. In India, every 6 out of 10 families or working couples depend on outside food, and the elderly parents needed disease specific, right, and children often consuming oily, unhealthy and packaged food. For this problem, our solution is the Cloudness. The menu the freshly cooked hygienic homestyle food, separate veg and non-veg kitchens, disease specific menu, and nutrition approved menu. Full day meal coverage from morning breakfast to night dinner, and the menu categories are vegetarian, non-vegetarian, disease specific menu. Builds on trust. There are separate storage, utensils, staff, and cooking station. By this, we can build trust, reduce conflict, franchise friend. A nutrition per kitchen is too costly. So, using a centralized nutrition model, where one expert nutrition support 5 to 10 franchise units. Our system is purposed to build a interconnected needs living in high density urban apartments, such as working couples. They spend less time on the kitchen due to late working hours. And elderly parents need a disease specific diet. And children often consuming oil and unhealthy food. In this age, they need a perfect nutrition diet. Corporate employees, they also need a lunch box to their offices. More than a meal, a clear value proposition for families. By this, they can save money, save time, improve health by hygienic home-style food. The business model is the main core income is monthly subscription and special orders. And we also provide coupon system. Coupon. We leverage a centralized B2B grocery procurement model. We buy vegetables, millets, staple in bulk and store in central procurement model. By this, for the bulk savings, we transport it to every kitchen. Apartment by apartment scaling is very low marketing risk. Local missile cook services are not convenient and not healthy. Restaurant food apps are not affordable and unhealthy. Home cook is customized, convenience, but not healthy. Convenience, but not customized. Our system is convenience, affordable, health, and customized. Promote. Why this is a 10 out of 10 opportunity right now. Area unsolved problem, a clear defined customer, a complete franchise friendly system policy for growth.
Hi-Pad, one more pitch, Hi-Pad, Soham, Shivam and Vijay.
Nagarthi Global School, Nizamabad. Today I am here with my business partners Shivam and Vivek. So many of you are business owners. So think of your starting phase where you wanted to advertise your business, but you didn't have any enough money to spend on advertisements. So that was a problem. That is a problem in starting phase of every business to advertise your business. So the solution for this is we will place our digital screens in the local shops with high footfall. So then we will run local ads of advertisers who will get the targeted visibility and guaranteed local reach, and the shopkeepers will get the monthly income, and the consumers who will see the screens will get relevant local offers. So our features are category exclusivity. We offer one slot per category per screen. Like for example, coaching center. There will be one coaching center per screen per area. So QR code enabled performance. So every ad features a unique QR code which people will scan and redirect it to their home page. So these are our features. Shopkeeper cross promotion. We will promote our host shopkeepers who will hold our screens with in another screens. This is called shopkeeper cross promotion, and the ecosystem discount coupons. In this they can offer coupons. From here my friend Shivam will continue.
So this is our market opportunity. So the total addressable market in India is around 12 million, and the serviceable addressable market is around 3.5 to 4 million shops. So our serviceable obtainable market is just 5% of SAP with 2 lakh screens all over India. And this is the one-time setup per screen, that is around 35,000, and the monthly revenue we get from 6 advertisers with a monthly subscription of 3,000 is 80,000 rupees, and the expenses are around 7,000, and the net profit per screen will be around 11,000. So the payback period for that amount is just within 3 to 4 months. And this is our strong unit economics. So at city level with 1,000 screens, the annual profit goes up to 30 plus crores, and at state level with 5,000 screens, the annual profit goes up to 66 crores, and at pan India with 2 lakh screens, the annual profit goes up to 26,000 plus crores.
So our ask is 50 lakhs for our pilot project. So thank you.
Now I request Rajiv Dua, the President of Time Nizamabad, to present.
You have 3 features. Only 2. All right. And the complete session was very insightful. Buying of a dry fruit that I never thought. Going to Mudra's shop, there was never an idea that we could think so much that a story can come out of it. That's a great thing. Thank you very much, Ashutosh. And I think, ma'am, you have to be very careful. He's a storyteller. He can tell you many stories, and you will never know it.
I think that's why I got married to him. He told me stories and convinced me to.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
This is the rice and turmeric from Nizamabad.
Sir? No, not a problem. This is from Nizamabad. We have wildlife bed in Nizamabad. So probably you could explore that also. Yeah. This is from Nizamabad. This is news. That is Nizamabad Environmental Society. So we have that. So it is also part of same Kakatiya Sandbox. We are also part of Kakatiya Sandbox. Offshoot of that, and this news also.
We have around Nizamabad.
We have wild bucks, black bucks here, and flamingos and everything. It's all around. Right? Thank you. Thank you. MC?
Thank you once again, Ashutosh, for coming down to Nizamabad and simplifying the influence for us. We leave today not with just business insights, but with new toolkit to communicate how to weave our story and to tell our customers in a better way. So, thank you so much, Rajiv ji and TIE Nizamabad, and special thanks to Honey. Request. I think everyone would have taken down the notes. Hopefully it won't sit there in your cupboards. I think it has to be put into the use, and then you start writing your own stories and improve our businesses. So thank you again, once again. So we'll all gather for the group photo.
This one, this.
మేము టై నిజామాబాద్ నుంచి అండి. టై అంటే ది ఇండస్ ఆంటర్ప్రినర్షిప్. సో ఇది ఒక ఆంటర్ప్రినర్షిప్ మెంబర్ క్లబ్. ఇది ఎవ్రీ మంత్ మేము లీడర్షిప్ సిరీస్ అని చేస్తూ ఉంటాము. సక్సెస్ఫుల్ ఆంటర్ప్రినర్స్ ఫ్రమ్ అక్రాస్ ఇండియా అండ్ యుఎస్ నుంచి ఇక్కడ వచ్చి వాళ్ళ సక్సెస్ స్టోరీస్ షేర్ చేస్తారు. వాళ్ళు సక్సెస్ స్టోరీస్ షేర్ చేస్తారు ఈ ప్లాట్ఫామ్ పైన. అండ్ దేర్ బి లాట్ ఆఫ్ లెర్నింగ్స్. వాళ్ళు పైకి ఎట్లా వచ్చారు, వాళ్ళు ఫేస్ చేసిన స్ట్రగుల్స్ ఏంటి. సో వాళ్ళ స్టోరీ నుంచి మనం నేర్చుకునేది చాలా పాయింట్స్ వస్తాయి, అండ్ మనల్ని కూడా హెల్ప్ చేయడానికి చాలా అవకాశం ఉంటుంది. సో మీరు నిజామాబాద్లో ఉంటే టై నిజామాబాద్లో జాయిన్ అవ్వచ్చు.
टाई निज़ामाबाद जो हमारा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, ये वर्ल्ड ओवर नोन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है. दैट इज़ दी टाई इंडस एंटरप्रेन्योर. हमारा मेन मकसद ये लीडरशिप सीरीज़ का ये है कि हम बड़े बड़े लीडर्स को यहाँ बुलाते हैं, बिजनेस लीडर्स को बुलाते हैं, फाउंडर्स को यहाँ बुलाते हैं. वो अपनी स्टोरीज़ हमारे साथ शेयर करते हैं और हमें अपनी स्ट्रगल्स के बारे में बताते हैं. हम कैसे ओवरकम किए, कैसे हमने आगे बढ़ाया, कैसे हमने मल्टी मिलियन बिजनेसेस को बनाया. तो इस तरह से छोटे छोटे स्टार्टअप्स जो छोटी सिटीज़ में, निज़ामाबाद जैसी सिटीज़ में जब हम स्टार्टअप बनाते हैं, हम ये सोच के बनाएं कि हमको वर्ल्ड ग्लोबल लेवल पे काम करना है. हमको सिर्फ निज़ामाबाद पे नहीं काम करना. इस तरह से हम अपनी सोच को बढ़ाएंगे. उसी सोच को बढ़ाने के लिए इन लीडर्स को निज़ामाबाद में लाया जाता है टाई द्वारा, ताकि हर आदमी की सोच का स्पेक्ट्रम थोड़ा वाइड हो. थैंक यू. हम यही चाहते हैं कि हमारे साथ वो लोग जुड़े जो एक्चुअली इस इकोसिस्टम का हिस्सा बनना चाहते हैं. थैंक यू.